For the last decade, London developers could not build fast enough. New towers went up in Stratford, in Woolwich, in Elms. Show flats filled with weekend buyers, off-plan investors, and young professionals convinced they were getting in early on the next great neighborhood. That story is true. But here is the thing. Right now, in 2026, there are London postcodes where rows of brand new homes sit empty on the market for months. Developer incentives keep growing. Show flat car parks are quiet. Letting agents are chasing tenants instead of selecting them. Today, we are counting down 10 London areas where brand new homes are sitting empty. Let's get into it. Woolwich is a riverside town of about 100,000 people in the Royal Borough of Greenwich, sitting along the south bank of the Thames, about 10 miles east of central London. And Woolwich was supposed to be one of the great regeneration success stories of 2020's London. The pitch made sense. The Elizabeth Line arrived at Woolwich Station in 2022, cutting journey times to Bond Street to under 20 minutes. Developers responded immediately. Major schemes, including Woolwich Central, the Cannon, and multiple towers along the waterfront, flooded the market with new 1- and 2-bedroom flats aimed at first-time buyers and commuter renters priced out of zones 2 and 3. During the post-pandemic bounce, that pitch worked. Early buyers and investors moved in at launch prices. Then the affordability ceiling arrived. The average new-build flat in Woolwich now sits at £450,000 to £550,000. At current mortgage rates, a buyer with a 10% deposit needs to earn close to £85,000 a year to qualify for that mortgage on a typical lender's income multiplier. The median salary in the Royal Borough of Greenwich is nowhere near that number. Developers are now offering incentives that would have been unthinkable at launch. Stamp duty contributions of £15,000 to £20,000, free furniture packages, part exchange deals, and extended deposit protection. Letting agents marketing the rental stock are seeing void periods stretching to 3 and 4 months on units that launched with waiting lists. The Elizabeth Line was supposed to change everything in Woolwich. It changed the commute. It did not change what people can afford to pay. Elms sits on the south bank of the Thames between Vauxhall and Battersea, a former industrial strip that spent the last 15 years being transformed into one of the most ambitious residential development zones in the entire country. And Elms is now sitting on a volume of unsold and unlet new-build stock that the developers did not model when they broke ground. The numbers in Elms are stark. Over 20,000 new homes were planned or built in the zone across schemes including Embassy Gardens, Riverside, Vauxhall Sky Gardens, and the towers surrounding the new U.S. Embassy. The pitch was premium. Zone 1 and 2 locations, Riverside views, new tube stations at Battersea Power Station, and Elms on the Northern Line extension, and a new neighborhood built entirely from scratch. The problem is that new neighborhood was priced for buyers and renters who largely do not exist in the numbers the developers needed. 1- and 2-bedroom flats in Elms regularly launched at £700,000 to over £1 million. Service charges on the high-rise blocks run to £5,000 to £10,000 a year on top of the mortgage. For investors hoping to cover those costs through rental income, the yields are not stacking up. Rental listings in Elms are sitting longer. Price reductions of £50,000 to £100,000 on resale units have become common, and entire floors of some developments are occupied at densities well below what was projected in the original feasibility studies. If you have made it this far and you are still not subscribed, I genuinely respect the commitment to watching without committing. But hit the button. The next 8 areas include a Docklands bet that never filled in, a Riverside quarter that ran out of buyers before it ran out of cranes, and a North London neighborhood where entire blocks went quiet before the shops opened. It only gets emptier from here. Barking Riverside is one of Europe's largest housing developments, a planned community of up to 10,800 homes being built on a former power station site along the north bank of the Thames in the London borough of Barking and Dagenham. The London Overground extension to Barking Riverside opened in 2022, and was meant to be the catalyst that made this location viable for commuter buyers who needed a rail link to make the location work. The early phases sold reasonably well. The prices looked affordable by London standards. New two-bedroom homes launching in the high £300,000 and low £400,000. First-time buyers using Help to Buy took up a meaningful share of the early stock, but Help to Buy closed in March 2023, and the buyer pool that replaced it is smaller and harder to reach at even these relatively accessible London price points. Later phases are sitting. Completed homes on the Riverside walkway are on the market with incentives stacking up. Developers are offering deposit contributions, solicitor fee packages, and flexible reservation terms. The rental market is also struggling. Barking Riverside is still a construction site for years to come, and the lifestyle that was promised when buyers reserved off-plan does not fully exist yet. Amenities are thin. The retail and community facilities that were supposed to arrive with the residents are behind schedule. Buyers who reserved based on CGI renderings are moving into something that looks and feels unfinished, and the next wave of buyers has noticed. Southall in the London borough of Ealing is one of the most significant new build bets in West London right now. The Southall waterside development, one of the largest regeneration projects in the capital, is being built on the former Southall Gasworks site along the Grand Union Canal. Over 3,750 homes are planned. The Elizabeth line at Southall makes Paddington reachable in 12 minutes and Heathrow in 6. On paper, the transport case is almost perfect, but the market is telling a different story. New build flats in Southall Waterside are launching at prices that the surrounding area simply does not support on a comparables basis. Local buyers who know Southall know what existing homes sell for in the neighborhood. The premium being charged for new build spec and the Elizabeth line connection is significant, and a meaningful share of the target buyer pool is not paying it. Investor buyers who made up a large proportion of early reservations are now trying to exit positions before completion. Off-plan assignments are being listed at discounts to the original reservation prices. Developers are running incentive programs that did not appear in the original sales and marketing materials. The canal location is genuine, and the views from the upper floors are legitimately good. But a canal view and a 12-minute ride to Paddington does not automatically produce a solvent buyer when mortgage rates are where they are and service charges are what they are. Southall Waterside is a long-term project. The short-term picture is inventory that is not moving. Colindale in the London borough of Barnet spent the last decade being transformed from a low-density North London suburb into one of the densest new-build zones in the capital. Developments including Beaufort Park, Colindale Gardens, and a dozen smaller schemes added thousands of new homes to a neighborhood centered around the Northern Line station. The tube to Leicester Square is under half an hour. The pitch was Zone 4 prices for a central London commute. The Zone 4 prices did not last. As the development boom continued, prices in Colindale crept upward faster than the local rental market could absorb them. Investor-heavy schemes launched with yields that looked viable at 2021 interest rates and are now being stress-tested against a completely different financing environment. Landlords who bought new-build flats in Colindale at £400,000 to £450,000 with buy-to-let mortgages are finding that the achievable rent does not service the debt at current rates. Supply has also flooded the local rental market. When every new scheme in a 2-mile radius completes within the same 18-month window, the competition for tenants is brutal. Landlords are cutting rents and offering incentive periods to secure occupants. Some are selling into a resale market that now has more stock than buyers. Estate agents covering Colindale are reporting void periods and asking price reductions that have not been seen in this part of North London for well over a decade. Abbey Wood in the Royal Borough of Greenwich became one of the most talked about Elizabeth Line stories when Crossrail opened. Zone 4, with a direct ride to the West End in around 25 minutes. Developers moved fast. New schemes went up around the station, targeting first-time buyers and young professionals who wanted Zone 4 prices and Zone 2 journey times. The inventory problem in Abbey Wood is a combination of volume and timing. Multiple developments completed within a short window. flooding a relatively small local buyer pool with more new homes than the market could absorb at launch pricing. The gap between what developers priced the units at and what local buyers can borrow against local salaries is real and is not closing. Incentive packages have grown. Cashback offers against stamp duty, free flooring packages, extended completion periods, and asking price reductions of £25,000 to £40,000 on completed units are now standard across the main schemes. The Elizabeth line is still there. The commute to Canary Wharf is genuinely fast, but an 18-minute ride to Canary Wharf does not help if the mortgage is unaffordable at the price the developer needs to achieve to cover their land and build costs. Abbey Wood is a victim of the cross-rail premium being priced in before the buyer pool was ready to pay it. Lewisham has been one of southeast London's most active development zones for the last several years. The town centre regeneration, the schemes along Lewisham High Street, the towers around the DLR and rail interchange, and the broader residential push across the borough have added significant new build stock to a part of London that was genuinely underserved. The bones of the pitch are solid. Lewisham is Zone 2 and 3 with DLR, overground, and national rail connections giving genuine flexibility for central London workers. But the volume of new supply arriving simultaneously is creating a buyer and tenant surplus problem. Developments that launched off-plan during the low-rate environment of 2020 and 2021 are completing now, in a completely different affordability context. Buyers who reserved with small deposits are either proceeding under significant financial strain or walking away and forfeiting reservations. The developer response has been the familiar package of incentives: mortgage subsidy contributions, cashback on exchange, part exchange for existing property owners, and outright asking price cuts of £30,000 to £50,000 on larger units. The rental market has absorbed some of the slack, but not all of it. Lewisham's new build rental supply has expanded fast enough that void periods are lengthening and asking rents on new units are coming under pressure, even as the wider London rental market remains tight. The location is right, the timing is wrong, and the completed inventory is sitting while developers wait for the affordability environment to shift. Wembley Park is one of the most extraordinary development stories in London. Quintain, the developer behind the master plan, has spent the last 15 years transforming the land around Wembley Stadium into a mixed-use neighborhood with thousands of homes, retail, leisure, and the largest build-to-rent residential scheme in UK history. The Metropolitan and Jubilee lines put Bond Street within 20 minutes. But Wembley Park is now carrying an overhang of unsold and unlet units that the original projections did not fully account for. The build-to-rent element has kept a large proportion of the housing under single institutional ownership, which creates a rental product that competes directly with new build sales in the same postcode. When you can rent a brand new 2-bedroom flat in Wembley Park at a price that is competitive with the mortgage cost on a comparable unit for sale, a meaningful proportion of would-be buyers choose to rent and stay flexible. Sales stock in Wembley Park has been sitting for longer than the developer benchmarks anticipated. Incentive packages are running. The retail and leisure offering, anchored by the London Designer Outlet and a growing food and drink scene, is genuinely good and still developing. But the buyer who was projected to purchase a flat here at 2022 prices with 2022 mortgage rates does not exist in the same numbers in 2026. The football is still on at the weekend. The homes are still sitting on the weekdays. Stratford was the centerpiece of the 2012 Olympic legacy story. East Village, the former athletes' village, was converted to residential. The International Quarter added towers of new homes alongside commercial space. Developers poured into the E20 postcode across the decade that followed, convinced that the Elizabeth line, the Jubilee line, the DLR, and overground services from one of the best-connected stations in London would produce an endlessly deep buyer pool. The connectivity is real. From Stratford, you can reach Liverpool Street in 7 minutes, Canary Wharf in 9 minutes, and the West End in 20 minutes. No other outer zone location in London can match that combination of rail lines in a single interchange. And yet, the new build market in Stratford is sitting on more unsold stock than at any point since the Olympic development first came to market. The reason is price. Stratford new build has been priced at levels that reflect the transport connectivity and the newness of the stock, but do not fully reflect the fact that Stratford is still E20, still Newham, still a location with challenges that the CGI renderings consistently smooth over. Service charges on the larger schemes are high. The density of the development is significant, and the investor class that absorbed a large proportion of the early launches has largely stepped back, waiting to see whether the rental yields can be made to work at current financing costs. In the meantime, the homes sit, beautiful, brand new, and empty. If you are still watching and you have not subscribed, you are doing exactly what the empty flats in number 1 are doing, just sitting there with enormous potential, waiting to commit. Hit the button. Number 1 is the most visible example of London's new build crisis, and it has been hiding in plain sight for 2 years. Number 1 on this list is the Royal Docks corridor and the outer fringe of Canary Wharf, the stretch of East London running from Canning Town through Royal Victoria, Custom House, and Silvertown along the northern bank of the Thames. And this is where London's new build empty home problem is most concentrated, most visible, and most difficult to talk yourself out of if you are standing in front of it. The Royal Docks was designated an enterprise zone. The Elizabeth line at Custom House was supposed to be the catalyst. The Silvertown Tunnel is under construction to improve road connectivity across the river. Developers including Ballymore, Berkeley, and multiple institutional investors have poured billions of pounds into towers and blocks across this stretch of E16 and E6. The Excel Convention Centre is there. London City Airport is a few minutes' walk from some of the new schemes. On a clear day from the upper floors, the view across the water to Canary Wharf and the city is genuinely stunning, and significant portions of the completed inventory cannot find buyers at the prices the developers need to sell at. The scale of the problem in the Royal Docks is what puts it at number 1. Multiple completed schemes across the zone are carrying months of unsold stock. The investor buyer who was meant to absorb large tranches of the Royal Docks pipeline has stepped back. Asian investor demand, which propped up a number of these schemes during the off-plan marketing phase, has weakened substantially. Domestic first-time buyers cannot qualify for the mortgages at the asking prices, even with the government's current support schemes. Incentive packages in the Royal Docks have reached levels that are genuinely hard to believe. Stamp duty paid in full on units up to £600,000. Cashback packages of £20,000 to £30,000 on completion. Free furniture packs. Developer contributions to 2 years of service charges. Rental guarantee schemes where the developer promises to cover a period of void rental income for investor buyers. Outright price reductions of £75,000 to £100,000 on completed units that launched at very different prices in a very different market. Entire blocks of completed flats sit empty with show flat lighting on the ground floor and nothing on the floors above. The waterfront walkways are finished and beautiful and largely unpopulated during the working week. The Royal Docks has infrastructure, connectivity, architecture, and ambition. What it does not have, in the numbers the development pipeline needed, is buyers. Those are 10 London areas where brand new homes are sitting empty, from the South Bank towers that ran out of premium buyers, to the East London regeneration zones that never quite found their market, from the outer Elizabeth line corridors that got priced ahead of local incomes, to the Royal Docks, where the incentive packages are now extraordinary. The same pattern keeps showing up. The post-pandemic development wave pulled demand forward. Developers responded with supply, interest rates climbed, the Help to Buy safety net closed, service charges kept rising, and the completed inventory is now sitting behind incentive packages that would have seemed impossible just 3 years ago. If you are a buyer with a strong financial position and a long-time horizon, this is one of the most significant windows of opportunity London new build has offered in a decade. Developers who refused to negotiate 18 months ago are now very willing to talk. If you already own in one of these neighborhoods, the builder incentives on the new homes next door are quietly affecting your resale value and your rental comparables, whether anyone is saying it out loud yet or not. And if you are thinking about buying new build anywhere in London right now, the first question is not the price. The first question is what the developer is prepared to do to move the home. Drop a comment and tell me which of these areas you have walked through and seen with your own eyes. Subscribe if you want more of this every week. I cover London and the UK property market every single week, and the new build inventory is not the only thing quietly shifting. See you in the next one.